Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to the 70th episode of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So I am recording this at the beach in Florida. One of my goals has been to do something fulfilling, which adds value, and something I love while still being able to travel and experience life as well. So here I am, doing what I love from a place I love, and it's very fulfilling, and I hope it's adding value to you as well. I don't say that bragging at all. I say that because the same is possible for you if you want something and you set your mind to it. So what is your dream? Have you been thinking about it? Have you maybe given up on it or put it on hold? Well, I want to remind you that it's there, and that if it's something you can't stop thinking about, then it's time to do more than think. It's time to take action. That's really the ultimate message from me always, is that if you have a dream in your heart, it's meant for you. But the only person that can make it happen is you. We each have a purpose, but that purpose isn't going to knock on our door. And it probably isn't going to be handed to us on a silver platter either. Your ultimate purpose may stay the same, but take you on different paths towards reaching your dream. So work on knowing your purpose and then go after it like your life depends on it. And I know you will, because if you're listening to this podcast, you are at least somewhat aware that what you fill your head with affects the outcome of your life. Now, the idea that your thoughts create your reality is truer than any of us would like to realize. Until we recognize it's true, then you get excited and really start watching what you allow into your brain because it affects you so much. Now, if you're like me, sometimes you hear people say, well, it's what you're focusing on, or just think about something else, focus on something else, and you'll change the way you feel. And in the middle of something hard, that's frustrating to hear. But sometimes, in some situations, it's really true. For example, we had our family down here with us all this week, and the house was so full of laughter and joy. And when they all left, and it was just me and Eric in this great big house, I felt a little sad. I mean, the house felt kind of empty. But I know the reason I was sad was because of the contrast of it being a full house of people I love, and now it's so quiet. But I was focusing on what was instead of what is right in front of me. I was feeling the contrast, and I let myself feel it for a little bit. But then we got super busy, like exercising, riding bikes. I mean, we were focusing on other things like reading or talking over lunch about what we were going to do for the day. And we really were just enjoying each other's company, and suddenly I felt so much better. Now, that's an easy scenario of how changing your focus can fix your feelings. Start being intentional and aware of the thoughts in your head, because that will really help you be able to feel better when the situation just needs a focus change. But what happens when it's not that easy? What happens when you're in the middle of a storm and changing your focus isn't going to fix it? Now, I don't know when you're listening to this, but I'll use this year, 2020, and COVID as an example. This wasn't going away anytime soon, and so many of us are feeling the effects of lockdown. I mean, worrying for our elderly family members, worrying about job loss, worrying about basically everything. It was and remains to be, at the time I'm recording this, a really serious issue for the world. Now, it's not going away because we change our focus. So how do we remain calm when we're in the middle of a serious situation where simply focusing elsewhere isn't going to work? Sometimes circumstances are there, and they are what they are, and you have to deal with them. Tony Robbins talks about hurricanes, and they have an eye of the storm that's calm. Now, I liken this year to a hurricane, and being able to find the calm in the storm is critical to managing the chaos. The storm's there. I mean, we can't deny that. We just have to be able to manage our thoughts about the storm. Last year, I was scuba diving in the BVI, and we went through a cave that was pretty tight. So tight that my BCD vest got caught on a jagged edge of one side of the cave, and I couldn't move forward. Now, my brain wanted to freak out, but I told myself the worst thing you can do is panic. stay calm, and think about what you need to do to get unstuck. All I had to do, I realized, was back up a bit, and that allowed me to be able to freely move forward. Now, had I panicked and started thinking about all the things that could happen, it would have been really bad. So we have to recognize sometimes in the middle of the storm that there are things you don't control, and you can't do anything about those things, and focusing on them will make you crazy. All they do is create fear and anxiety. And in that situation, I controlled my thoughts, and that made me able to think clearly, which allowed me to make good decisions. Even though some might say going through a random cave in the middle of the ocean may not have been a good decision to start with. But that's a topic for another day. Anyway, the key here is asking yourself, what can you control? So what can you control when you're in the middle of a storm? Sometimes, of course, what you control depends on the situation, but there is always something you can control. You can always control what you feed your mind before, during, and after that storm. What you feed your mind controls your thoughts. Your thoughts control your feelings, and your feelings control your actions and your attitude. Now, Scott Adams has a quote about our brain, and he says how it isn't designed to process everything in its environment. So the brain has to set up filters. Now, those filters come from what you pay attention to, what you focus on. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute, maybe even pause this for a second, and really think about what you're paying attention to regularly. Is it the news? Is it social media? Is it gossip? Are you filling your brain with enough positive input to outweigh the negative? When you focus on filling your brain with positive input, it creates filters for your mind that are positive. And the more you do that, the better you're able to feel calm during a storm. Now, at first, your brain is going to want to jump back into the drama, because if you've been used to drama, your brain literally has created like grooves and patterns that are comfortable for you. Drama can be a drug that you keep going back to, so at first avoiding it will be hard, but eventually you'll want it less and less. I mean, kind of think of creating a new path through a forest. At first, it's just so much work, but once the path is taken a few times, it becomes way easier to use. That's how it is for your brain as well. These filters we create are how we look at the world. The things we pay attention to affect every aspect of our life. Have you ever decided you wanted a new car and then you start seeing that car everywhere you go? I mean, those cars were there before. You just didn't notice them. Your brain is noticing them now because your focus is on that particular car. The brain filters out the other cars and hones in on the one you want. That's the power of filters. That's life. That's how it works. So my question to you today is, do you control your filters or does someone else? And my challenge for you this week is this. Number 1, notice what you're paying attention to regularly. Number 2, be aware of how that affects your thoughts. And number 3, choose one good positive input that you start your day with every single day. Maybe it's listening to a podcast like mine. Maybe you read a chapter or even just a page in a really good book. Or maybe it's just deciding to journal 3 things you're grateful for each morning. Now, I'm going to put a few of my favorite podcasts and a few of my favorite books in the show notes for you to take a look at. But listen, empowering yourself by choosing the filter you see the world through is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. Let's see what you've got. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.